if you think about it, there is only one state of mind we truly desire, and that state is called certainty. We want to feel certain that tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year are going to be under our control. We want to feel certain that our future is going to be financially secure. We want to feel certain that whatever we are working on right now is going to be achieved. We want to feel certain that others people portray us as desired, happy, fulfilled, loved, smart, intelligent, or socially attractive. Certainty is experienced when our lack is fulfilled. If there is no lack, there is no desire. So, what do we lack? Money, control, being loved, being admired, being desired, peace of mind? We can also desire to get rid of things we don't want, like pain, fear, doubt, insecurity, or being stressed by someone or something. We don't desire to lose clients, investment, businesses, job or partner. We don't desire other people to find out things about us we don't want them to know. There is no doubt that from dawn to dusk, we are working to gain that feeling of being certain. But have you ever asked yourself a question? Why this feeling of certainty is so delicate, so fragile? Why do we have to work so hard to keep it afloat? Why once established certainty doesn't stay with us for good? For example, we achieved our goal. We achieved success. We made a sale, bought or sold a house, met a wonderful person, had a perfect date, earned a lot of money, or escaped from being judged. We got what we had desired. We felt certainty, but on the following day this perfect phenomenon was gone. And as a result, we had to do something to regain that feeling, to make sure that it's still there. So, why does this wonderful taste last so short? Because 99% of our certainties are built on a finite desire algorithm formula. In simple words, finite desire algorithm is an identity incorporated into the DNA of our consciousness. And as long as this identity is active, the feeling of certainty is always going to be illusionary, short, elusive, and temporary. One of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, Richard Feynman, stated, "All things are made of atoms, little particles that move around in perpetual motions, attracting each other when they are a little distance apart, but repelling upon being squeezed into one another." In other words, money, eating vegetables, swimming in the ocean, orgasm, investing in crypto, sickness, and emotions, such as nirvana, are products of atoms. They consist of atoms. That new habit you are encoding right now is a combination of atoms who have no weight, no taste, no color, but are intelligent energies. Your current experience, as well as your final outcome that you are waiting for to be manifested, consists of 99.99% of atoms we don't experience. What we experience as taste, color, vision, emotions, feelings, smiles, crying, or physical sensations such as touch are the rest of that 99.99%. We experience only 1/10 of 1%, and that is the problem. So the house we enjoy, our partner who we love, our thoughts that we share, the car we drive, credit cards we use, and feelings of certainty are not what we think and believe they are. For example, it is generally acknowledged that emotions and feelings are the product of the nervous system, which consists of neurons that are electrically active and which also release chemicals called neuromodulators, such as dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, or epinephrine, trigger emotions and feelings. But the nervous system, as well as all those chemicals, consist of the same atoms as your and my phone. So consequently, these chemicals are not the causes, but mere effects. Imagine a crypto investor whose desire is to achieve financial independence. The investor is working on due diligence, statistics and history, collects all possible data and information, does technical analysis and talks to trusted friends and sales consultants. Investors' intuition, instinct, and experience are also taken into the consideration. That desire and all the above mentioned aspects consist of that 99.99% and 0.1% of atoms. The problem is that the investor, besides that external factors, that external shell, that 0.1% doesn't see, doesn't experience, and is not interested in anything else. And if we are honest, we do the same. We try to master that 0.1% of reality. We try to use even our intuition, instinct, experience, extrasensory sense, the sixth sense, so to speak, just to scrutinize that 0.1%. But the world of 0.1% is extremely illusionary, limited. Donald Hoffman is a professor of cognitive science at the University of California in Irvine. He stated, "The world presented to us by our perceptions is nothing like reality." He continues, "Quantum mechanics says that classical objects, including the brain, don't exist." Professor Hoffman talks about the difference between that 0.1% and 99.99% of atoms. We all experience in the past a feeling of being certain, to find out after some time, could be a week, a month, 5 years later, that this particular thing or a person was suddenly gone. We didn't want them to let it go. It just happened they were suddenly gone. It could have been a lover, a relationship, money, a business, a friend, a job, or an arrangement. How did we feel when they were gone, suddenly gone? Excited? Terrific? Motivated? Certain? Well, we didn't know what to do next. The certainty we had suddenly left us. The certainty was gone, as if it was never there. But why? Because we had built our certainty on 0.1%, on that finite desire algorithm formula. There is one particular habit we don't intend to switch to anyone, and it relates to so-called friction. Now, there is no doubt that we all want to work as less as possible and earn as much as possible. That is our nature. We follow the rule of least effort, which states that when we have to make a decision between two similar options, most frequently we choose the option which requires the least amount of effort. Because if something is not attractive, it's not easy to get, and it's not satisfying, there is no reason to repeat it. We are all looking for immediate satisfaction, instant gratification. So imagine just a phone application you want to upload, but first you are obliged to go through 14 steps. Are you interested in that? Login, password, email address, confirm the link. Again, username, double click, check the email. Again, add your phone number. Add the text, a couple of sentences about yourself. Then confirm again the link, etc. and etc. Now, but what is attractive, easy to reach, and gives us instant satisfaction, and which does not require friction or very little friction? A mobile phone. When we feel for a second gloomy, depressed, stressed, bored, or insecure, we reach out for a phone, and as a result we receive certainty. But how long did that certainty last for? Very short. But why? A. Because that certainty is, as I stated before, was built on 0.1%, and B. Because friction was not implemented there. Interestingly, we are being educated that instant gratification and immediate satisfaction is egoistical, that we should earn first whatever we desire. It seems that when we talk about access to certain phone applications, this rule doesn't apply. So when we have a problem with restriction, for example, meaning we have to take that something we are addicted to or say something to someone when we strongly disagree with that person, we feel this internal conflict, that pressure we cannot control, that inhibition, so to speak. Say we are having a live Zoom call because we want to establish an affiliate. That person is not a cup of tea we would like to talk to. So we feel agitated. Here is the friction we are not interested in. Simultaneously, there is a release of neuromodulator called norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitter and a hormone known as adrenaline. We can't wait. We need to react right away. So what do? In a polite way, we may say, I have to go and pick up my kids from school, or my gardener just came. But inside, there is a war between the limbic system, which is the area in our brain responsible for more primitive reflexive responses, and the frontal cortex. But the less friction, the weaker certainty. And we should remember that. In the simplest, friction represents activities we don't want to activate and process. Friction is a tool, a bridge between 0.1% and that 99.99% where all our potential is concealed. And I'm not talking about neuroplasticity, when challenging things are converted into reflexive. Because again, neurons, synapses, and all other chemicals are not causes, but effects, which we pay actually so much attention to. Unfortunately, we utterly rely on them. So imagine, we are having a conversation. It could be a potential client or a business partner who creates deliberately some friction. Our desire is not to get involved into that small battle, we would say. We want to win it, or create at least a win to win. But for sure, we are not interested in friction that makes us uncomfortable and triggers different chemicals, these neuromodulators, which create feelings and emotions. We don't want to deal with that. So say we won. How long did the feeling of certainty last for? Not even a day. It doesn't mean we shouldn't make a sale or make more money. Of course we should have. The reason why we don't feel the certainty, not for another year at least, paradoxically, is that because our desire, even though we won, was not increased but decreased. So friction increases our desires, not decreases them. Let's dive a little bit deeper. In the heart of the atom, called the nucleus, there is a proton who has a positive charge. A neutron has a neutral charge. And an electron has a generally negative charge that occupies the nucleus. The orbit can change depending on how excited the electrons are, how much energy, so to speak, they have. But when we take an electron, positively charged, called anti-electron, also the positron, this positron behaves like a regular electron, has a positive mass, but the opposite electric charge. In other words, the electrical charge in an electron is reversed relative to matter. And you say, okay, fine, but what does this mean to me? I just want to know more about it. How this relates to me. What it means is that when we avoid friction, we leave the electron with its untransformed negative charge. Now, the electron is a particle then, and we know that responsible for all our life misfortunes, all of them, are electrons who represents particle, that negative charge. Conversely, if we face friction, we can transform that electron, we are actually transforming that particle into a wave, into the positron. And as a result, we would be able to connect with the other realm of atoms, that 99.99% realm, where all our potentials are concealed. They are not concealed in the brain, they are concealed within that realm of 99.99%. So friction is the enter point to your concealed potential. And if we look at our lives, you know where there is the least success, the least certainty. The least success is in the areas where there is no friction or little friction, where we avoid actually friction. Vavpay application is an operating manual where the user, by following incremental steps, the users actually are going to dissect that negatively charged electron and convert it into the positron. In other words, the users can resuscitate any success that, for example, doesn't work or didn't work for some reason because of that electron. Now, a couple of sentences about our application and blockchain. Why we have decided on Nexus blockchain. Imagine that there is a project that sells on the marketplace NFTs. The users have been waiting for a very long time. So everybody wants to put their hands on that NFT, right? So at 11:59 a.m., 1 million users are waiting in line to be the first one. And we know how it works. The more funds the user has, the faster can purchase the product. But what about the rest of the users? Well, they can wait for hours, days, or even up to a week. Who cares? In Vavpay application, the same 1 million of users are going to receive VAV tokens or NFTs within a few seconds. Just imagine how this technology influences other features such as trading or transactions that are free of charge. So if you are interested in acquiring VAV tokens, today you can purchase them for 0.57 US cents. And for more information, you can go to www.vavpay.io/preseed. And of course, I would like to thank you for joining us. This webinar is always and is going to be available on our website. So if you are interested in sharing that knowledge with others, you are more than welcome. So, and of course, you can join us on our social media and ask any question with regards to Vavpay technology. And as always, I will see what are the questions. So it's a lot of materials about, especially about the consciousness, about the realm of let's say our consciousness, about 99.99% and 1/10 of 1%. So it takes time. Perhaps I suppose that you will have to watch it one more time, or at least a couple of times, and perhaps ask some questions. You can send directly to me these questions. That's not the problem. All right, Robbie Q. Playing to earn, it is Ponzi to me. Today users not only has an advantage by having better equipment, they has to pay for it. To me, it is Ponzi. How Vavpay address this? All right, so I understand that Ponzi, it's now everywhere. Because in the past, the Ponzi was when, there was an advantage so obvious to be taken. So the project will have to be, or would be able to exist when there is enough amount of users coming into that project. Now, it seems to me that the Ponzi, it's only because someone has more money. So can, let's say, buy a better skin or a better NFT, or has better equipment. So playing to earn is Ponzi because of that aspect. Well, I think something that has been defined as decentralized in few weeks or few months is going to be kind of defined as centralized. And we are going to develop, Robbie, a new way of being decentralized, of, let's say, so-called honesty. But you know what? This honesty is going to be centralized in another few months or few years. And we will swap that with something else, which is also decentralized, and this and again and again and again. So we are just searching kind of for definition when something is, in our opinion, not decentralized. But you know what I think, honestly? I think if there is no such a project on the earth, and there is not a job, even one job, no matter how much we share with other people and give away, where we would not be able to find this Ponzi. We can always find this Ponzi. And of course, we should differentiate, obviously, what is the financial pyramid and what is not. But do you see what I mean? We are just trying to minimize this definition, what it is and what it is not. So we can find, in my opinion, everywhere Ponzi. Because even at servicing a client in a shop could be a Ponzi over there. I can find a Ponzi over there by a server, or let's say you are in a restaurant and there is a waiter. Is it not a Ponzi when you give him a tip? It is. It could be. You see, it depends on the person. So we have to be like seeing a little bit more what it's Ponzi and what it's not, or what triggers to define that Ponzi, and what triggers why people are going to create projects like that. But that's a different story. It's too much to talk about it. Another questions. Love Rabbit. Our habits can be break but cannot be erased from brain because they are neurons. Vavpay application can erase them. You are absolutely right. You see, that's I agree, to the point that it's pointless to search for the answer in the brain, to change only from the perspective of the brain our habits, because the old habits is always be there. So what we can do, for example, we can avoid them, right? The old habits. We can run away from them. We can upgrade them. We can make, for example, harder to get in touch with our old habits. That's what we can do. But it doesn't mean that they are erased. And so that's why the technology that is presented to people today, it's extremely limited. Because either you are going to work on different habits and you make harder to get to the old one and you are working on the new one, or you are going to take pills. So you are more or less stimulated, depends on the chemicals you need. But it doesn't mean that we control them, all right? It doesn't mean, they still control us. So what Vavpay application actually do for the users, Love Rabbit, it's to go a step before the brain. Because brain, as I mentioned earlier on, in all honesty, it's only 0.1%. It's almost not existing. And we are going to learn more and more. People are going to learn in the years to come so much about the consciousness and so much about the realm we are existing. So we will not find the answer here. We have to find the answer earlier on in our consciousness. So of course I'm not going to discuss all of these aspects in one sentence because it's too complex subject. But what Vavpay application does, it takes the user before the brain, before the chemicals are actually released, and that what is important. Okay. Another question, Love Rabbit. How much I need to have to invest? Love Rabbit. It depends. From the perspective of a salesman, I could tell you whether you want to be the user or whether you want to be the investor or whether you want to be both. But truly, how much you feel you can. You feel comfortable to invest. It depends on you. You can invest a little bit now, and if you are enjoying the application, if you see how it works, if you see the MVP, if you see how it develops, then you can say to yourself, oh, okay, now I'm ready to put a little bit more. That's my answer, I think, to you. I think that's all the questions. No, there's one more. Moshe, where can I find friction? Can you give me an example of a friction? Moshe, it depends on the person. Some people, the friction can be found in the places we don't want to face, so to speak. And the friction can be also found in the places where we have least success in our life. So you see, it's like it truly depends on the person. Sometimes depends on the money, sometimes depends on the relationship, or lack of being with someone. It truly depends on the, let's say, on the message that you are going to receive uncomfortable. So some people will say, you know, I don't have this problem with this limbic stuff, you know, between this war I mentioned earlier on. I don't have a problem with that because I can control the process that is in my kind of brain, right? Between this, when you feel this internal pressure, when this inhibition, it's so hard to kind of to control. So and then this neuromodulator is released, norepinephrine. So what I'm trying to say, it's like between this war between this frontal cortex and this and our limbic system, there is something that, of course, depends on the person. It depends on the person, because you can uphold easily certain things that other people cannot hold. So to know, I think what is important, that this neuromodulator, norepinephrine, it's on purpose. It has been given to us. We actually created it for ourselves, to help us to know that we shouldn't run from that friction, but we should actually step into that friction and control and take control over that inhibition, over that neuromodulators and these chemicals, and make sure that not from the perspective of external approach, but from the perspective of our internal change, we can control, for example, this norepinephrine. So this is the way I would, I think, answer to you. So there is no more questions, I see. So thank you very much. Stay in touch. I hope you enjoy today's webinars, and of course there is more in the future. Thank you very much. Best of all.